All right, Larry Kruger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show with a little 49er video as we preview Niners Cardinals here in week 4. But the Krug Show is brought to you by Mojo Fantasy. Mojo Fantasy has introduced a whole new way to play fantasy football this season. It simply works by entering into contests and building a portfolio of players. The props you pick act like stocks, and you can buy and sell player stock live all game long. That's it. You make picks, you make moves, you make money. Check the link in the description and make sure you use the promo code KRUG, KRUEG, and get up to $100 matched on your first deposit. All right, let's talk a little bit about the 49ers and the Cardinals. I'm looking forward to this game in week 4. Niners have some questions injury-wise. It sounds like Debo and Jennings are not going to go, and the Niners are probably going to go with Chris Conley and Willie Snead in their place at wide receiver. The Niners did go 3-0 last season when they did not have Debo Samuel, and they still averaged just under 30 points a game. Now, the 49ers offense has scored exactly 30 in the first 3 games, and the Niners will be coming off a 10-day break. The Cardinals, on the other hand, are coming off a real nice win against the Dallas Cowboys last weekend. And the Cardinals have entered the fourth quarter with a lead in all 3 games this season. And despite that, they only have a 1-2 record. You know, the Cardinals have been a really good first half team, and that's going to be one of the keys in this game. Make sure that the Niners match Arizona's intensity in the first half. Cardinals have started fast in all their games. They've scored points on 11 of their 15 first half drives, and they've outscored their opponents by 34 points in the first half alone, 54-20. And then you look at what they've done in the second half, they're not nearly as good. Arizona scored points on only 4 of their 15 second half drives this season. So they've been a first half team. Now, can the Niners match them? One thing the Niners are going to have to do is slow down Joshua Dobbs. He's got a 107.3 passer rating when under pressure, which is the fourth highest passer rating of all the quarterbacks out there under pressure. In fact, Dobbs' 72% completion percentage is 4th in the NFL. Herbert, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Allen are the only guys with a higher completion percentage right now than Joshua Dobbs. And he's yet to throw a pick all year. And he's really been excellent against pressure. I think if there's one surprise, it's how well the Cardinal offensive line has held up thus far. And that's going to be a big factor in this game. The Cardinals have given up, I think, 30 pressures is all Dobbs has faced. And that's tied with Lamar Jackson for the second fewest in the league. But even when he faces pressure, Dobbs has been unfazed. He's completing 70.8% of his passes under pressure, 17 of 24. Highest in the league with a 107.3 passer rating, trailing only Herbert, Mayfield, and Kirk Cousins under pressure. So the interior of Arizona's offensive line has allowed 17 of the 25 pressures that they've allowed. The 49ers have 3 really good interior linemen in Javon Hargrave, Javon Kinlaw, and Eric Armstead. They all rank in the top 20 at their position in pressures. So the other thing that's going to be key in this game is turnovers. Arizona owns a 16.1 turnover percentage. Their defense forces a turnover on 16.1% of their opponent's offensive drives. That's tied with the Niners defense for the 6th highest in the league. So you don't want to turn it over. The fastest way to lose in the NFL is turn the ball over. So Arizona's got an interception in each of their games. So that's one thing. They also are second in the NFL with 23 pass deflections, trailing the Saints. Catrell Clark, the rookie out of Louisville, has been fantastic. He leads the team with 4 pass deflections. And then Kayvon Wallace and Marco Wilson are tied with Chris Barnes with 3 each. For Purdy, he's taken really good care of the football this year. He's yet to throw a pick. In fact, it's been it's a number of passes since Purdy's thrown a pick. The game could tilt on that right there. The other part of this matchup that is going to be a key is the Cardinals run the ball well. Their running game has been one of the best in the league through 3 weeks. They're 11th in rushing attempts, 6th in rushing yards, 2nd in yards per carry average, and they're running it with a bunch of different guys. I mean, they run it with James Conner, they run it with Hollywood Brown, they run it with Rondale Moore. Dobbs has been used on design runs. So, that's definitely a major thing to look for. A wild card factor in this thing is the rookie wide receiver Michael Wilson. He's had a nice start, the former Stanford star. He's a big-bodied wide receiver with good hands who can flat out run. So you got to watch out for Wilson. He had close to a 70-yard pass play last week. So, it's the big matchup is the Niner D line against the Cardinal O line. The Niners defensive line finished the game last week with 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and 17 pressures against Daniel Jones. And they'll look to do the same against Dobbs. So Hargrave, Kinlaw, and Armstead, those guys are doing the job in the middle, and quarterbacks have no room to step up in the pocket. The Cardinals' offensive line, surprisingly, has been good. They usually struggle on the O-line, but they've allowed only 3 sacks in 3 games, and they're starting a rookie offensive tackle in Paris Johnson. He was a high pick, and he's a good player, but they have an undrafted free agent at left guard, and they got a journeyman at center. So it's not like you're looking at one of the best guards or best O-lines in football, but they're playing above their talent level to this point. Now, the Niners did sweep Arizona last year, so they've had their number, and there will be no Budda Baker. He's out of this game with a hamstring injury. He's on IR. His running mate, Jalen Thompson, has been very consistent, and the Niners are going to have to, are definitely going to find ways to attack the replacement safeties. I expect Kayvon Wallace and the other safeties at Chikari. They've both logged career-high snaps and coverage already this season. I expect Shanahan to make both those guys the conflict defender and really go at them. One guy you got to get blocked on this Arizona defense is Kazir White. He's been an immediate upgrade for the Cardinals linebacking unit, and he had a game-sealing interception of Dak Prescott in the end zone in their win last week. But they're injured at linebacker. Zaven Collins, who's been lining up a lot on the edge, and Chris Barnes, both left the game last week with injuries, and they're currently listed as questionable. So, to me, if there's one thing the Niners are going to try to do in this game with the injuries at wide receiver that they have, is they're going to try to run the ball, run it a lot. The Cardinals are allowing 134.7 rushing yards per game. And Shanahan against Arizona has committed to the run in the past. He's totaled 169 yards and 159 yards in their last 2 games. So the Niners have run it on Arizona the last 2 games. I expect them to run it again in this game. Now, what is surprising about Arizona on the defensive side is they're 5th in the league with 11 sacks. That's amazing, really, when you consider they're one of only 6 teams that are blitzing less than 20% of the time. Last week, the Giants brought the blitz 85% of the time. The Cardinals don't blitz at a high rate. They really don't. They blitz at one of the lowest rates in the game. Cameron Thomas, Dennis Gardeck, Victor Dimukeji are their edge rushers. Arizona's pass rush win rate is only 24th in the league, and their run stop win rate is 29th. So the Niners are going to run it at them quite a bit, you would think. This offensive line, though, for Arizona is playing pretty well. DJ Humphries and Will Hernandez are really underrated left side of their line. The center, Froholt, is on his 3rd team, though, in the last 3 years. The right guard, Elijah Wilkinson, is on his 4th team in the last 4 years. They're both in the bottom 20 in Pro Football Focus pass block grades this year. And so we see, if there's one guy that I think is going to have a big game, it's Javon Hargrave. The guy that's really a hell of a player is the Ohio State tackle Paris Johnson Jr., which is why he went 6th overall. I mean, that's the kind of blue chip offensive tackle the 49ers would love to have. This game is going to be about, can the Niners wrap up James Conner? He leads the league with rushes over 20 yards. He's got 4 20-plus yard rushes. He's 4th in the league in rushing yards. He's averaging over 5 yards a carry. He's playing at a really high level. Zach Ertz, who's a Bay Area native, the former Stanford star, is tied for 1st on the team. He's got 14 catches. But don't go to sleep on Trey McBride. The Cardinals have 2 really good tight ends. So the Cardinals have run the ball a ton. No team in the league has thrown the ball less than the Cardinals. They're not saying, hey, Dobbs, win it for us. They're trying to win it with James Conner. The Niners are going to try to win this game with CMC, and CMC is the player of the month. He's got the most rushing yards. He's got the most 10-plus yard carries. He's forced the most missed tackles with 16. He's got 100 more yards after contact than Jerome Ford of the Browns, who's next on that list. He's second in that stat. CMC's the NFC's offensive player of the month in the month of September. He had 60 carries. He averaged almost 6 yards a pop. 37% of his runs have gone for over 15 yards. I mean, that's wild. I mean, especially, even if it's only 3 games, that's a huge percentage of over 15-yard runs. So the key matchup in this thing is going to be Fred Warner against James Conner. Shutting down Conner is going to be a huge thing. Josh Dobbs has attempted just 82 passes. That's the fewest of any starter in the NFL. Conner's a bruising runner. He's run for 98 yards and 106 yards in the last 2 games. And as a result, Arizona's offense has scored 28 points in back-to-back weeks. So the other interesting aspect in this game is Brock Purdy. He's faced pressure on 40% of his dropbacks this season, 7th most in the NFL. Now he gets an Arizona defense that has been able to pressure quarterbacks 60% of the time they've dropped back to pass. That's the second highest total in football. And the Cardinals are doing it despite the fact that they rarely blitz. So, Purdy, facing pressure, especially without it coming from the blitz, has been an area Purdy struggled with. Through the first 3 games, he's completed just 48.6% of his passes when pressured. So, that's a big one. How does Brock Purdy deal with the pressure? Can the Niners stop James Conner? Can the Niners establish CMC? Can the Niners not turn it over? If all those things happen, Niners may cover the 14. But I don't like this number. I think it's too big of a number, especially in a division game. All right, there's your preview of Niners Cardinals. Hope you guys enjoy the game. Catch me Sunday morning from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Santa Clara Hilton across the street from Levi Stadium with Lo Neal. We'll be doing pregame there leading into the game at 1. Really looking forward to it. And thanks to all you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.